Hi, I'm Richard McKenzie, a professor of economics and management in the Paul Merage School of Business at the University of California, Irvine. The political plot unfolding these days in Washington is as old as demagoguery, following a well-worn script. Declare a national economic disaster all out of proportion with reality that can only be handled by the smart people in power with massive federal deficits distributed at the discretion of political leaders who truly think that they can divine with great wisdom what is best for a complex, troubled economy. Never mind that the federal allocations will pad the pockets of firms and CEOs whose past decisions were poor at best and criminal at worst. Then bash the rich as blood-sucking economic leeches whose claims to their incomes are dubious at best, all with the goals of making them ultimately pay for the venturesome, squandering ways of political leaders who thirst to be seen as the saviors of every man. So it has been that President Obama proposed to drain the rich, those with annual incomes of more than $200,000, of several $100 billion over the next decade. The tax measure has stalled out in Congress, but its underlying arguments need examining because all too many Americans have bought them. If the country were really going to reap the exorbitant, widely distributed benefits our political leaders claim will emerge in the not-too-distant future from their proposed ever-growing bailouts and stimulus packages, then why level higher taxes only on the rich? People of lesser income means should be eager to help fund the bailouts and stimulus packages, and it would be only fair that they carry their part of the funding burden, since they will share in the resulting prosperity. The very fact that the administration has proposed to raise taxes on the few, the top 2% of income earners, should make everyone suspicious of the efficacy and fairness of these bailouts and stimulus packages and other proposed federal fiscal ventures. President Obama justified his greater taxes on the rich with a simplistic argument. The rich have gained disproportionately over the recent decades from economic prosperity. No mention is made of an inconvenient truth that the prosperity of most working rich people, not the slothful heirs to great wealth, came from their having produced goods and services of far greater value than the gains they were able to siphon off. The soak the rich tax proposal reduces to the argument that those Americans who made good and conservative economic decisions in the past should now be forced to pad the pockets of the CEOs who made unbridled, risky business decisions, and of other profligate Americans who over the past decade tried to live far beyond their means. Any proposal to soak the rich is all too often grounded in the presumption that the rich got their gains through graft, corruption, and thievery. Some no doubt did. The now rich and retired CEOs who absconded with tens of millions of ill-gotten bonuses and stock options when they were misrepresenting the risks they had their companies take should be jailed, with all of their ill-gotten gains taxed at not just high rates, but confiscatory rates. However, many of today's rich people got their incomes the good old-fashioned way, through hard work, frugality, and judicious and conservative investment policies. Indeed, many rich people today have actually earned over the course of their lives a lower average wage rate than people making far less. How can that be? Many rich people today put in mountains of unpaid hours developing a product or business over decades, with their efforts finally paying off today. Their current incomes may look excessively high, but only because no account is made for all the unpaid hours worked long ago, or for the substantial risks they took. Embedded in the soak the rich fiscal strategy is the presumption that the higher taxes on the rich today affect only today's rich. Advocates of these tax policies fail to realize that hordes of low-income Americans today are working very hard and are taking substantial risk in the expectation that they also will one day be rich. Many of today's lower income Americans can be expected to interpret proposed higher tax rates on the rich today as a grab on their future incomes. They can be expected to react. Why bother? Why put in all the unpaid hours or take the risks today? Therein lies potential economic damage that can be imposed on future generations from higher taxes on today's rich. But then, understandably, today's demagogues would just as soon no one consider such downsides to their arguments to tax today's rich. Thank you very much for being with me.